Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is having a wonderful, peaceful evening. Hi, Amanda. Great to know that you're here on time for roll call. Imagine that, you guys. In Scientology, we were always having to be in time for roll call. If you were not here exactly by the dot, 1 second late, that you would cross into the roll call, and you would have landed yourself in ethics trouble. Not great, you guys. So you can get into ethics trouble very, very fast if you're part of the Scientology hotel. So you guys, we wanted to discuss a subject today that we did cover very early on, months ago, when we actually first started our channel. And it has to do with a subject called betrayal blindness. And I thought it would be interesting to revisit, and actually there's more videos, so we're going to be reacting to another video and revisit this subject, as I do believe it offers a why to a degree of why there's been no change. Why are these adults unable to see what they've done? Like, what's the block? And we really wanted to revisit this video because I think it's coming in handy right now with all of the drama. I mean, if you guys didn't catch Liz Gale's live a little bit earlier, she was talking all about the drama and all of these funny names that are made that really do seek to paint a narrative that, imagine a survivor that never asked to be traumatized, that never consented to be traumatized, that never in their wildest dreams thought that what was going on was actually a traumatizing experience that was hurting their brain, as gone over by Liz Ferris in her last video. Trauma is personal and everybody experiences different things, and so many things that adults go through don't end up becoming PTSD for them because of the level of control and situational awareness and consent that is simply not the case for anybody that was under the age of 18. And as we continue to advocate for those who have not reached the age of consent, 18 and under, where their brain, their development has been completely falsely painted as if they, the kids that are under the age of 18, and I know a lot of you are mothers, and I know a lot of you have kids and know firsthand what it means to have a child, and know firsthand that yes, children can be very smart, children can be very much ahead of their time and whatnot. But yet again, there is no level or world where any adult can claim that adults and kids are on the same plane. And when that is being done at an industrial size scale, we end up exactly in the position that we're in today, where an exorbitant amount of childhoods have been wrecked by the Scientology executives, by the Scientology parents who became ensnared themselves in a system of policies pitched by a convicted, indicted felon. And it's not easy for any mother. I cannot imagine my mother wanting to really wake up tomorrow and be like, oh my God, you know what? I just realized that I definitely did traffic my first child. That's what I would like to really realize for myself. Sandra Gill is not having that realization today. Pedro Gil is not having that cognition today. And maybe he won't have it tomorrow, and maybe he won't have it in a week, and maybe he won't have it in the next 10 years, or even before he closes his eyes. And it all has to do with their own betrayal trauma, their own blindness that they have developed for themselves, as waking up to the facts is so egregious, is so unthinkable and indefensible, that they would rather project that the kids that are complaining about it are the ones with the problem, because at least their delusion can live another day. At least they can justify in their heads why things happened the way they happened. So this is the subject that we're talking about: betrayal blindness in Scientology. Scientology's culture of betrayal blindness reeks of moral decay and spineless complicity. Adults steeped in the toxic brew of indoctrination have become nothing more than blind puppets, dancing to the sinister tunes of manipulation orchestrated by the organization that runs on because L Ron Hubbard said so. And what would L Ron Hubbard literally do? So just think of that for a second. Imagine you run your life outsourcing your adult choices to a convicted, indicted felon. Gee, I wonder what L Ron Hubbard literally would do. Let me check the book here. Oh, look, he did say to lock up a child against their will, and they're gonna have a great time, and they're really gonna get somewhere. Oh, okay, great. So let's just lock you up. This is clownery at its most dangerous. Clown. All adults are lured and then submerge themselves in a cesspool of deceit and are unable to see beyond the thick fog of lies that are peddled by their leaders, so-called executives. Once they are hypothetically bit of a bug that's being sold in the books that pitch all the horrors that they seek to normalize. So once again, it's the books that pitch the horrors. It's the book that set the rules of engagement that are indefensible. The stench of hypocrisy hangs heavy in the air as they turn a blind eye to the heinous crimes committed against innocent children, the very most vulnerable of all of its members. So going back to that point that Liz was making on her live, it's the children that are the very most vulnerable out of all the people inside of those hotels. Any child under the age of 18 has no shred of a clue what they're getting ensnared with, and their own brains cannot even process the level of betrayal that is taking place. Their loyalty is not to justice or morality, but to the twisted dictates and the epitome of utterly corrupt and morally bankrupt hierarchy. They've been conditioned to believe that questioning authority is akin to treason, allowing the vile underbelly of Scientology to fester and thrive in the shadows that are all to the detriment of kids exposed and ensnared without the capacity to consent to what plays out in that culture. It is a grotesque spectacle where human decency has been sacrificed on the altar of blind obedience. Until these spineless enablers muster the courage to break free from the chains of indoctrination and confront the putrid truth, staring them in the face, they will remain complicit in the perpetuation of evil. The adult choice is literally all theirs. The time for excuses and empty platitudes is over AF. It's high time these blinded adult followers wake up from their delusional slumber and face the harsh reality of their collusion in the systemic abuse of innocent children's lives who were never okay to fair game under the false guise that the literal kids were also adults and therefore also fully in on it. Only once the facts are being confronted on their face can they begin to redeem whatever shred of integrity they have left for themselves, and whatever type of amends would begin to construct that which has been fully ravaged, which is countless childhoods. So here's a poem. As I sit here and ponder, I don't really understand your problem, Daddy. What have I done this time? It truly makes me wonder. Why the fuck is there lightning and thunder? You are meant to be perfect. There's no room to ever flounder. I have done enough of that. This time, you're not going to say it was all due to a service fac. That is what you call a service facsimile. This time, Daddy, it's tag, and you are literally it. It, the clown. You better get dressed in your hospital gown. The snakes are dead. We just mowed the lawn. If you give a fuck, then you would not yawn. Kids were tokenized and traded at a hotel that acted as a local pound. If any of y'all have ever investigated it, this is what the fuck y'all would have found. Karma is what goes round and round. Children are the ones screaming. It's time for you, Daddy, to hear the sound. They were all locked away in y'all's hotel, a horrific prison-like compound. It's the children that y'all drowned. And the fact that y'all did it with a straight face, where the fuck was the frown? It's your criminal liability, what you are going to found, extremely profound. You can't find the truth. Y'all's heads will end up on a pike on this very next round. It's your luxury cards, what the fuck, they are about to begin to impound. Faster than the speed of light. It's called ultra sound. So that is where we begin this live, you guys. And this is the segment that we wanted to bring up to discuss this and contextualize. Betrayal blindness, why we were the last to know.
My name is Kristen, and this is the fourth video on a series of videos on toxic relationship cycles, maladaptive patterns in relationships that cause us a lot of pain and trauma. Today, we're actually going to be talking about the subject of betrayal blindness. It's really important to understand this topic because when we're coming out of toxic relationships, there's this period of time where we start reviewing the whole relationship and realizing, oh my gosh, how could I have not seen that she had a serious addiction or gambling problem? How could I have not known that he was having an affair with his secretary for a year? How could I have not seen that it was so emotionally abusive or physically abusive? And I just kept staying in the relationship. So now not only are you dealing with the trauma of being betrayed, so the trauma of realizing that this person that you were vulnerable with and intimate with betrayed your trust.
And here we're expanding this in terms of, we weren't betrayed by a lover. We weren't betrayed in an adult relationship. We were betrayed in our very, very, very young formative years, where we could have only rely on our parents to judge for us what was in our best interest, to protect for us what was in our best interest. And you better believe that it's taken me the 9 years of being out of this disgusting toxic relationship to now fully understand the level of complicity that my very own parents had in what happened to me. And again, a lot of these kids that grew up in Scientology that were always told to be adults, it's just simply not a single time you ever could have thought, oh, I'm the one, is a victim here. That thought was not available for any child inside of that hotel. In fact, anytime you said you were a victim, anytime you said that you were abused, they would double down on you and then sell you their idea of why it was that you deserve to have been abused and how it was actually your fault every single time you got abused. So that is a place where no child has a shred of capacity to, be on the same literal stage as an adult. Because again, in what world are adults saying that the children are just like them?
You also are carrying this great deal of shame that I should have known. I should have left. I should have seen those signs, and I should have, would have, could have behaved in these particular ways. So now I'm dealing with the trauma of being betrayed and the shame of like, I'm a horrible person for not knowing these things.
And let's speak about an adult that got themselves involved in Scientology, because that's what this is giving. And this is the situation we're discussing. They're going, oh, I'm so bad. Oh, I got betrayed. Oh, L Ron Hubbard was a convicted, indicted felon, but I thought he wasn't. I thought he was the savior of a world. So, yes, I wouldn't trade places with any of those Scientology parents that were scammed and who therefore ensnared their kids in something that whatever cognitive dissonance state they found themselves in with a full straight face could place their kids in harm's way, all full knowing, all fully aware of what was being asked of kids, because they were putting themselves through the same thing, except that under this ridiculous false idea that a child and an adult are just the same. There were no safety guardrails in place. There was no common sense. Children's comfort levels and capacity to be exposed to all of what Scientology parents were exposing their kids to was simply never, ever, ever considered in any way, shape, or form. So imagine being that parent that did that to your kids. Imagine having to go, oh my God, these books turned me into diametrically oppose what nature intended. And I mean, what could be worse than that? What could be worse than turning your own parental instincts against yourself? What type of degenerate would be pitching ideas that would turn parents into sadists against their kids? And that would literally be pitching to the parents, oh my God, you're really going to help a child by pretending that the child's an adult. It's simply depraved and it's simply indefensible. And there's nothing more disgusting that I can possibly think of on the planet than being that disgusting, convicted, indicted felon that L Ron Hubbard was, and being lauded as some American-bred god that all of a sudden wrote a book, wrote on a piece of paper to be a disgusting sadist, and then going around selling that to everyone inside of the hotel.
The way I try to help clients understand this portion of recovering from the relationship is the concept called betrayal blindness. So it's basically helping someone understand that when they are in a codependent relationship, so when they are dependent on that other person, whether it's a real dependency, such as they need them for financial reasons, support with the children, or it's perceived needs, dependency needs, such as I need them to tell me that I'm good enough and smart enough or attractive.
See, we're talking codependent relationships from hell inside of these hotels. That's all it was. Oh, in this hotel, we really want to help you. In this hotel, whatever we say really means a lot to you. So I know it sounds unthinkable and ridiculous that these people would be going to a hotel or commercial building to build these codependent relationships with the people inside of the hotel, that their only claim to fame was that they had completed a 2-week course. And all of a sudden, that power dynamic couldn't have been more lopsided, couldn't have been more fake, couldn't have been more based on delusion and not on facts. And again, it's like, what parent wants to wake up to that level of unthinkable betrayal, that level of unthinkable false fake pitch? And just how you see all the Scientologists being very confident. Oh, I'm so confident what I'm doing is great. I'm so confident that what I'm involving myself is wonderful. And again, we waste breath, we waste oxygen trying to convince adults that maybe it was very wonderful for them to subject themselves to these audits that L Ron Hubbard pitched. But again, it wasn't great for a shred of child.
When these needs are so strong, and we are looking to that partner to fulfill those needs and maybe don't know how to fulfill them within ourselves, or don't have the confidence to fulfill them within ourselves, we let those dependency needs and our fear of losing that relationship wipe away our intuition.
So imagine that all adults, whether willing, consenting, loving it, or whatever, had their intuition wiped away. Nobody wants to wake up to that. That I can guarantee you, you guys. And can we have compassion for that? Absolutely. Can we put ourselves in their shoes? Yes. And that's why we're speaking. That's why we are bringing up every single day. Why in the hell is this going on? Why in the hell is this happening? Why in the hell is no one doing anything about it? Why in the hell is everyone playing dumb? Why in the hell is L Ron Hubbard still being pitched as an American bred god? Why in the literal hell is that happening today? Because again, the only people that benefit from those questions not being answered are whoever in the hell it is that loves this culture. But whoever gets affected by it is those kids.
There's an understanding that there's forms of betrayal that happen all the time. There's a used car salesman who maybe sells you a car for more than it's worth, or someone will steal something out of your purse or out of your backpack or something. So there's those types of forms of betrayal where there's an understanding that those kind of things aren't supposed to happen and they do happen. Someone breaks into your car, etc., damages your property. But then when something happens in a relationship where there's intimacy, where there's this trust, where there's this dependency, I love you, I do right by you, you reciprocate and you do right by me. We are in a monogamous relationship. We're supposed to be honest with each other. What I say is what I mean, and vice versa. When we're in that type of relationship, an intimate, dependent relationship where there are strong levels of emotional and logistical ties to each other. So let's say the husband's a breadwinner, and the mom's at home caring for the children. So there's a strong dependency on each other. The more dependency there is in a relationship, the more likely a person is to ignore these warning signs, the betrayal or the abuse.
And how this applies to Scientology, you guys, is very simple. Scientology was betting on that level of codependency. The sessions, the so-called sessions, the so-called audits were the literal gaslighting chamber from hell. People thought they depended on that to get somewhere. People thought they were getting somewhere with that, with getting all of their information data mined. There was no policy from L Ron Hubbard where the end user was being safeguarded, where the end user's data wasn't being purposely weaponized. Whether it was by complicity, whether it was because it was data mined to create a false level of codependency, or like what the KGB calls compromat. Compromat. People's intellectual skills were compromised. People's intuitions were compromised systemically, institutionally, on purpose. There is no one in Scientology that's giving them information that information is not being weaponized against that end user. There's just no scenario. It couldn't be more betrayal blindness, because the codependent relationship that was formed, the unthinkable, disgusting, indefensible codependent relationship, all because a convicted felon wrote it down on a piece of paper to really implicate its proteges, to really lure its proteges, to really groom its proteges with films, with, oh, how to use a doll in a session. Oh yeah, this is how you use a little doll. This is how you do a little drill. This is how everything's a drill. Everything is just a script. Everything is just acting. And that's why I always call it a role play. In what world was this not acting if we were drilling scripts? In what world was this not acting if we were recording everything? In what world was this not acting if we were being told, you're the auditor, you're the PC? Go. But it wasn't acting. It was reality once they locked that door and you were stuck inside that hotel room, unable to leave, unable to say stop, unable to say no, unable to say, I don't have a goddamn answer for that question. I want to leave now. So that's the level of horrendous codependency that gets created. It couldn't be more toxic. It couldn't be more disgusting. It couldn't be more horrific. It couldn't be more damaging. All of it is damaging. All of it is disgusting. All of it is unthinkable and horrific. When it's done to children, is a full-blown abomination. There is no other word for that. If children's comfort levels aren't being taken into account and they're being placed in harm's way, can you imagine the level of betrayal blindness that we're talking about here?
Because the fear of losing the relationship suppresses our intuition and our instincts that are telling us that we are being harmed or betrayed or lied to or gaslighted. So the more the victim is dependent on the perpetrator of that betrayal, the more power that perpetrator has over the victim.
And in the case of Scientology, you guys realize they were building a case. Oh, this is your case. Let's put it on a folder. Oh my God, look how many folders you got here. 5 folders, 10 folders, 20 folders, 30 folders, 50 folders, 100 folders. I had over 100 folders. 100 folders of all my formative years. What type of religious experience was I really having for myself? What literal type of religious experience was I having for myself or any other child for that matter that was being data mined, that was being asked disgusting, unthinkable questions, that it wasn't an option to say, I don't have an answer to that. Oh, it read on the machine. You better answer it. Let's stay here for the next 10 hours. Let's figure it out. Oh, we really want to help you. We really want to help you find an answer. Well, why is no not an answer? Nope, that's not an answer. The machine said that you do have something. And using that disgusting Ouija board in disgusting, unthinkable ways that are just nauseating.
And betrayal blindness is the same concept used to explain why acts of sexual abuse, domestic violence, and other abuses at the hands of loved ones often goes uncovered, unacknowledged, undiscussed, unchanged.
See, you guys, literally, that's why all of that level of trauma goes unchallenged, goes unreported. Because again, it's not safe. And especially when you're talking about children, it is not safe for them to go, OMG, everyone here is a monster. Everyone here is a predator. Everyone here is committing illegal acts. In what world is a child going to understand that for themselves? We had an intuition. We knew something was awry. I knew it wasn't normal that I was stuck in a building, sharing a room with a self-admitted, you know exactly what in the hell I mean. That was not a normal thing for me to be experiencing, but where were my advocates? My parents had co-signed on this. Debbie Cook had co-signed on this. Angie Trent had co-signed on this. Marty Rathbun had co-signed on this. Shelley Miscavige co-signed on this. These women acted like they were demigods with their clown military fake stolen valor uniform that they did wear for themselves with a full-blown straight face. So these people couldn't have taken themselves more seriously. And as children, there was no way to push back on all that stolen valor, all the tactics that were used to keep us intimidated AF, scary AF is all I remember from that time period. I had no autonomy. I had no agency. I had nothing other than take it. Do whatever in the hell we tell you to do, because you are an adult and you are here and you already signed a contract and you already owe over $50,000 at that time when I was in the RPF. Before 18, I already owe them probably about $50,000. So imagine the level of debt bondage. Imagine that there is not a single shred of adult advocating for, hey, take it easy on that one. They're only 16. And it wasn't only me, you guys. If we're talking about this is systemic institutionalized for minors. Sergio Blinsky was sent to the RPF at age 16.
Years.
How does betrayal blindness develop?
So it's really important when you're reviewing that toxic relationship and you're shaming yourself, saying, how could I be so stupid? How could I have been so blind to these obvious signs that this was an unhealthy relationship, an unhealthy person? You have to acknowledge the ways that you might have fallen into the betrayal blindness cycle. So essentially, you're exploring, was my dependency on this person to love me, to validate me, to bring home the bacon and help support us financially? Or sometimes there's a physical need. Maybe you have a health or a disability and you need that person to physically help you live through life. That all those kinds of needs would suppress your intuition and your instincts that were.
And in this case, you guys, we hadn't developed any real intuition or instincts because, again, we were born in this boiling pot. There was nothing to compare our experience with. There were no other children having a regular childhood that we would go, oh, look, my parents are doing this, but they're not doing it over there. No. Our parents were all keeping up with the Joneses. Our parents created an insular system where everyone was keeping up with the Joneses. Oh, let's really keep up. If they did it, then we do it too. If you did it, we do it. We all do it here at the hotel, right? We're all doing it, right? We're really going to save a world here all together. We're really that special. And just like that, no child has a shred of ability to discern. And, to make it worse is these parents, these executives, these adults that are all part of this culture are completely blind for themselves because they don't want to wake up and go, my God, what have I been doing here? What in the hell have I been doing? I've been breaking the law. I've been abusing kids. I've been doing it with full impunity. I haven't given a shred of an F. Oh, I really need to change. I mean, that's just not what's going on, because this is exactly how the betrayal blindness is generated inside of that place, because everyone is made complicit. Everyone is made to sacrifice the same thing. And then all of a sudden, it couldn't be more normal because we all did it. And that's all it took to create that fake reality. If we all did it, then it must have been okay. If we all did it and no one called it out, then it must have been all right. And imagine this is a culture of snitching AF. And that's what gets them real tripped up. Oh my God, but we're always writing whatever we don't think is good. But imagine that all those writings, so-called writings, are just more data mining to F over all end users. No parent had a chance. My parents didn't have a chance. No parent there has a chance. Once they're ensnared in that culture, it's very, very hard for them to back away. And they have a million fangs stuck to the parent. So if they do make a move, then the fangs just continue going deeper. And there's so many ways for them to get at them. So really just contextualize that for them, because that is what in the hell they are facing for themselves.
Telling you this is wrong. This person should not be talking to me this way. They're obviously doing something nefarious or doing something behind my back, or I keep asking for my needs to be met and they're just not getting met. The betrayal blindness kind of pulls the wool over our eyes, and we only see we only see what's going to keep us in that relationship.
I mean, that's so important, you guys. We only see what's going to keep us in that relationship. So imagine for these cult hotel people, they don't want to be ousted or kicked out of the hotel under any circumstances whatsoever. So they do become so codependent on this delusion of grandeur that they have developed as a result of having sacrificed everything in their lives, as a result of sacrificing themselves at the altar of L Ron Hubbard, at the altar of his proteges from hell, who never had their best interest, who never gave an F. I mean, imagine that these parents so-called donate their kids to the Sea Org and that the executives treat them like shit. And I mean, in what world is that not breaking news? Like, they're not my kids. They're whatever. They were given to me. They're my property. Kids were used as property inside of those hotels. That's what it was. And everybody saw it. Everybody saw it. Even the people that are, oh, but I wasn't in the Sea Org. We don't give an F. Were you at the sandcastle? Was a 13-year-old little girl coming to tell you, oh, your next session is coming up. Come with me. Was a little girl being your waitress, like my own cousin, underage cousin that was made a waitress at the Lemon Tree, Jackie Rodriguez Rinder? Oh, yes, I'm here to help you to really save a world by being a waitress inside of a hotel. And realized that her parents, full knowing, my aunt and my uncle, knew what she was doing, knew what she was literally doing 24/7, 365. But by that time, they had already given her to the hotel. Bye-bye, go be an adult inside of that hotel. How to prevent betrayal blindness.
It's really common when I start educating clients on the subject matter of toxic relationships, maladaptive patterns, childhood wounds, to receive this type of response, which is, I had this really great childhood. I had wonderful parents. Where did it all go wrong? How did...
Well, she really definitely has not had a lot of Scientology kids end up there, you guys. I had this horrible childhood. How the hell did I get here? I mean, that's the question that we're asking right about now. It's like, how in the hell is our childhood just such a raging mess? Because I think that's what I'm asking my therapist when I go there. It's like, how can all this dysfunction have just taken place? Why was I so powerless to do anything, even though I was considering myself an adult? I mean, that's what's so mind-binding about this. Like, you're like, I was always told I was an adult. I always acted and I always was paraded around with the adults. So your own involvement in this becomes, you think that, okay, I must have done something in another life to really end up in this kind of horrendous position. I mean, that is what I told myself when I ended up in the RPF. I must have done something so disgusting in other lives that, yep, I mean, I ended up in this prison camp, literally with this man abusing me every day.
Did I find myself suddenly in this unhealthy relationship, in this abusive cycle, with someone who is a drug addict or an alcoholic, or someone who had a long-term affair? Why, in retrospect, when we review the toxic relationship after it was over, after the addiction was discovered or the infidelity, and you can look back and remember your family warning you or your friends already knowing, and you could see the warning signs, but you just kept ignoring them, so to speak. The reason why is called betrayal blindness.
And in this case too, you guys, I mean, the reason why, you think about all of these adults that were part of the hotel, their families tried to warn them. My aunt, the only one that had a college education, that did go to Scientology and then said, you know what, this isn't I'm smelling a rat here. Let me leave. Let me ask for a refund. And then she went to my dad and my mom, like, you really shouldn't be there. Like, it's weird what they're doing to y'all and to kids. And do you really think, and again, the parents, the Scientology people do not want to hear it. And think about like what happens to them when they are, you know, when you see the example, for example, when we go to CC Int and you see people leaving or you see people out of the org, they don't want to be told that they're wrong in any way, shape, or form. So they act very aggressive. They act very unhinged because literally anger and rage and ravishing the other is the only thing that L Ron Hubbard gives them as an option. Imagine that. And again, anytime that somebody has questions about Scientology, so imagine that my mother did leave the hotel after I drank enough pain thinner to literally myself as a 5-year-old, and then she did leave the hotel, and then she just blew and got declared suppressive, but then she was brought back. Oh no, where are you going? No, no, no. Oh, this is going to be fine. Just sign this piece of paper. We're going to make you make amends. My mother was made to make amends because she'd left. My mother was made to pay her debt because she left. And then she got told, oh, you're back to being very special again. And that's all it took. That's literally all it took for her to be ensnared back to these disgusting hotels.
So the most important part when we're talking about betrayal blindness is that the fact that you cannot have fear, so much fear of losing your partner, losing the relationship, that cannot drive your state of mind, because that fear driven determination to maintain that relationship at all costs is what feeds the betrayal blindness.
So that's shout out to all of you under the radar that are so stuck in y'all's fear about this. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't blah, blah, la, 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 la. Your fear is feeding your betrayal blindness. The more you feed that fear, the bigger it becomes. But you are trapped in a delusion, in an unthinkable delusion that we don't wish any single person in the world be trapped in. And we see it from here, and we see it from all of you guys commenting on our videos. What have all of us have in common? You've been in domestic violence relationships. You've been essayed as kids yourselves. You've grown up in these toxic, culty, familial power dynamics that don't make a shred of sense, that are not healthy, that were codependent AF, that literal predators were there managing it all to create that environment. Because again, this is not a healthy environment where people are thriving and are being allowed to be themselves, and respect and boundaries are respected. There is no boundaries. There is no respect. Everything is, you better make sure we like you, or otherwise your self-worth has been decimated to the point that you think, I'm just a piece of nothing. Everyone else is so perfect around me. And what does that do? Feed that betrayal blindness. It feeds the blindness more. You cannot see it. You cannot see it. You can continue to not see it. And, you know, that's the dichotomy. That's the paradox, because the more blind you are, the more protected you are not. And even though the truth hurts AF, that's the only thing that can save you.
And so then you ignore those intuitive messages that caution you, that scream at you that you're being mistreated or lied to or harmed or abused or betrayed.
And just know that under the radars that watch these videos, every single time your intuition said, you know what, maybe not. You know what, maybe let me go talk to my ethics officer and tell them like something's not smelling right to me. And again, you guys, anytime that anyone originates that, it's like, oh, well, let's do a PTS handling. Oh, let's do the problem is always you. If you have intuition, then it's you who has a problem. If you don't like what L Ron Hubbard said in a policy letter, if you want to question it, then it's you who must have a problem. It's always you. Oh, you haven't misunderstood. You don't understand something. You're so stupid. You don't understand it. You're full of withholds. You're full of crimes. You're full of criminal acts because we want to save a world here. And you're the one that used to want to save a world, but then now that your intuition is coming up, oh, suppress the intuition. That is unhealthy, disgusting, and dehumanizing.
So I hate saying that it causes you to allow the betrayal to happen or the abuse to happen, but it certainly sets you up to ignore the obvious warning signs that these very negative, harmful things are happening and cause the abuse to perpetuate for weeks, months, years.
So that's really the point, you guys, that the betrayal blindness was L Ron Hubbard's objective as he wrote all of those gaslighting policies about how he wanted to really save a world. And again, breaking AF news. A convicted, indicted felon didn't have his end user's best interest in mind when he purported to have discovered something that was valuable to who? To who exactly was this so-called technology valuable? Because that's right about now what we really want to know. Who benefited from a disgusting technology that was, role played on kids? That's really what we want to know. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Panko. Happy Valentine's to you too. Hi, Teres. Good to see you. Yes. Question from Amanda. What if tomorrow your parents did wake up, blinders off, and contacted you? My abusive dad passed before making amends, but I don't know what I would have done if he had. I mean, it's a hypothetical, right, Amanda? I mean, in a perfect world, yes, your parents would have woken up and said, oh my God, guess who I just talked to? The FBI. Guess who I just made a deal with? The FBI. Guess who I fully cooperated with and have said everything that happened on the word that I did to you as a parent? The FBI Crimes Against Children Unit. I mean, maybe then there would be a conversation, because maybe then we would actually be having an actual adult conversation, not a shuffle and, oh, it was all your fault. You really shouldn't have signed at 19, at 15. You were really different as a child or anything like that. So it really depends on every single person's personal relationship and what they went through with their parents. There's plenty of other second and third generation kids that have a relationship with their parents that were able to reconcile. And no one is here to tell anyone what they need to do for themselves. I think it's a very personal relationship that they have to have with their trauma. And, is it possible to have redemption? Yeah. I mean, if there's honesty and transparency, that would be something. If my parents were literally doing that for themselves, carrying their own weight, not putting it on me, not trying to gaslight and tell me, oh, like me, tell me that I'm a great parent, tell me that I was abused and a victim too. That's just not something that would do anything. So it's all a matter of, one by one, on a case-to-case basis, I think. Thank you, Mommers. Hi, Helen. Shout out to Helen, you guys. Shout out to Joe, all of our wonderful moderators. Here's Teres. Question. When there was a flap or something of the kind, did they separate and transfer the minors to other facilities? I mean, again, it depended on the flap, Teres. I mean, for a lot of the essay flaps, 100%. If the essay included an adult and a minor, they would definitely figure out, minors ended up in the RPF with me, sent across state lines from California because they had, for example, a relationship with an adult that was married, in the case of Kenny Davis, who I'm sure Mike Rinder should remember, since Kenny Davis was definitely in your time period, Mike Rinder. In what world do you not know who Kenny Davis is and what he did, given that who he did it to, the girl that he did it to was underage, and the girl who he did it to, you would know, her parents were senior executives. We're talking the ones that no one ever talks about because they were that senior and doing all manner of stuff or all manner of things. So plenty of minors were shuffled around because, yes, scrambling the statutes of limitation, scrambling jurisdiction, scrambling whatever reckless, horrendous, disgusting, no spine action that they took in order to CYA for themselves. And y'all can GTS CYA. Cover your own, fill in the A. Hi, General Boa. Thank you so much for seeing us all the way from Canada. Hi, Rin. Thank you for lurking. Thank you for checking it out. Grounded for Truth. Scientology technology seems to turn codependents into psychopaths. I mean, psychopath sycophants. So yes, Grounded for Truth. That's pretty much what the drill is. It's like they are codependent and then they get groomed. Then they get enabled. Then they get told that this all goes inside of the hotel. Like, this is all normal. Look, kids are doing it. Kids are liking it. So yeah, this is not in any way, shape, or form a good idea. Laura Estrada. Hello, Search. First time I've been on your chat. I so want to come out from Pasadena and support you. Well, thank you, Laura. Yeah. We're a decentralized AF movement. So everyone is welcome to, show up whenever, at whatever time, and exercise your own First Amendment rights. Thank you so much for being in the chat. Robin, any idea what Aaron is? You guys really miss Aaron, huh? Everybody misses Aaron. He's just, a little under the weather, you guys. It's all good. It's all Gucci. He's not going anywhere. Don't you worry about it. Thank you, Keith, for sure. Yeah, you guys noticed that this was a short one. I usually go on forever and ever, but this is a short one. We're already on the comments reading what you want to say. No, Amanda, what question was inappropriate? You guys, there's no inappropriate questions. We're discussing a lot of things, and as long as you guys come from a point of curiosity, like, we understand that there's a lot to discuss and there's a lot of questions to get to because we're never going to get anywhere. Like, no one's expected to just hear and then just take anything at face value. Like, the pushback is necessary. It's healthy, actually, to have the pushback and to be like, wait, well, what about this part? Well, wait, what about that? Have you considered this part? Have you considered that part? All of that is actually very healthy. So no, thank you all for your questions. One Love. The only people who benefited from L Ron Hubbard policies are the ones who went up to the higher abusing others. And they need to admit that. True. One Love 51000. There is a hierarchy. It's a pyramid scheme, and it's an unhealthy pyramid scheme from hell. And, did they benefit? I mean, they benefited from a power trip. I mean, it was very it says short-lived, a very short-lived benefit. While they were there protected inside of the hotel, no one calling them out, they could have been getting off on it. But now that they're on the flip side, imagine they cannot even reconcile with the facts. They're still deluded. They're still stuck in their betrayal trauma because they just don't want to admit to what they did, because it's unthinkable. The scale alone, the exponential scale alone of what was done, you guys, it's really what is being called out into question, honestly. And again, it's like, this is a tragedy of gigantic worldwide implications. Nobody wins by being right. Nobody wins by having had this happen to themselves or even to their kids or to anything, because anyone that's been implicated has lost their childhood, their parents, their formative years, a chance for an education, their rights, their ability to speak freely, their ability to have emotions and feel things as they're happening without having repercussions of being told that they're surfacing, that they're being out ethics, that they're being all these other words and terms that were used to suppress everything. So yeah, thank you so much for your comment. Well, that's what we have, you guys. I want to thank all of you for being here with us and discussing this subject as we continue to contextualize the plight of every single person involved. And we continue to advocate that there will not be more kids 18 and under ensnared in these hotels. That adults are being told whatever religious thing you thought you really had for yourself, that you really thought, following the words of a convicted, indicted felon, were going to land you in a place where you were going to be better off. Think about that pitch again. Go consult with a criminal attorney that's good at their job, that can really sit there, pay them. You're going to have to pay for that service. That's not free. But they all deserve an advocate. They all deserve a case be made for them. No one's questioning that, but the context is what's required for anything to change. And for anything to change for kids that are ensnared today, they are going to have to come to their senses and fully expose themselves for what in the hell they've done. Betrayal blindness is real. It's being discussed here. Toxic relationships are real. This happens in every corner of planet Earth, not just in Scientology, not just to us, not just to our childhoods. So we thank our entire community of survivors for sharing in this plight and showing up and holding space for survivors. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys extremely soon. Bye-bye.